hello you beautiful bastards, and welcome to the final of my James Bond month. And yeah, I know I already reviewed this, but in order to be consistent, sometimes you need to push that stubborn turd out in order to flush it. And after rewatching this again for a review, was I too hard on the film that killed James Bond? Well, DEI hired double O female agents and dull acne-faced villainous gentlemen. This is plenty of time to die. Released in September 2021, No Time to Die sees a retired Bond, played for the last time by Daniel Craig, being all happy and lovey-dovey with Madeleine Swann, played by Léa Seydoux, and after she tells Bond the location of Vesper's final resting place to help him gain closure.
I love bombs.
Well, he does get blown up, he just survives being blown up. Bond confronts a one-eyed henchman who tells him Madeleine was working for Blofeld.
Total fabrication.
So after GTA Vice Citying his motorbike and escaping a few goons, Bond dumps Madeleine.
It's not you, it's me. No, actually, it's not me. It is you. I'm sorry.
5 years later, an acne-scarred wannabe villain named Safin, played by Rami Malek, hires some goons to steal a secret government weapon named Heracles, as well as an annoying scientist named Obrachev, leading to Bond to come out of doing fuck all with his life to track down Heracles, hope Felix doesn't get killed, as well as trying to avoid a black secret agent named Nomi who also carries his 007 credentials, and that maybe he can achieve his mission without being blown to smithereens by the end. Oh, chance will be a fan thing. Well, if I have to be honest, on the rewatch I couldn't help but think what a pitiful waste of a final entry of a long-running franchise this final was. But before I get into what was utter shit, I still do have some good to say about this one. And the directing, despite Carrie fucking Harry, whatever his name is, being all Bond is like a rapist crap, he still knew how to shoot the action, and the cinematography is still absolutely beautiful, especially with Hans Zimmer's epic score to help give that film a sense of scale while also bringing a sense of fun and epicness to the action scenes. Especially the one at the beginning, and for a while it did almost feel like old school James Bond. You had the bombastic epic score, the death-defying stunts, the always stunning Aston Martin taking down goons, but then you sadly end up going back to the moody Daniel Craig Bond dumping Madeleine, followed by another miserable Bond theme sung by Billy, I confused singing with miserable mumbles Elliot. And Christ, after 3 somber moody title themes, can we at least go back to the bombastic brassy epic ones like Shirley Bassey used to do? But I will also give this film some credit, the acting is still on point, everyone is still firing on all cylinders, even though a lot of their dialogue can be a little exposition heavy, and when it wants to be, it can be fun. Especially in the scenes where he teams up with Paloma, played by Anna Deserved Better de Armas. Jesus fucking Christ, the mad chemistry these two had when working together. Fuck Madeleine, fuck Nomi, fuck the whole Craig series having some strict continuity. If they had made this a standalone adventure with these two working together, then maybe this would have been the high to end his tenure on.
Salute.
Salut.
But because Broccoli Wilson had dug themselves into the hole of fleshing out Bond to the point of taking away what made the Bond franchise successful in the first place, we have to endure more of the Jason Bond aping crap that a lot of the fans were tired of 3 fucking movies ago. Jesus Christ, this came out 3 years after Mission Impossible Fallout, and just like Rogue Nation, Fallout showed people preferred the more fun escapism. You'd think after Live and Let Die cashed in on the blaxploitation trend at the time, and Moonraker cashed in on the sci-fi trend at the time, you'd think the last 2 or 3 Bond movies would have cashed in on the actual spy capers people were preferring to watch during that time. But no, the powers that be decided to have Bond be more suited to the Me Too era. You know, the movement where entitled feminists exploited abused women as a way to destroy the very ideals that make masculinity important. No longer could we have Bond being a toxic, violent womanizer, because strong, tough, capable heroes who uses his charm on gullible women working for megalomaniacs as a way to help gain information to stop those megalomaniacs from destroying innocent lives is sexist. Thank you, Phoebe Waller-Bridgeface, for giving us that touch of feminism to a franchise infected by toxic masculinity. Before the powers that be realised people weren't liking Bond being cooked by strong, more diverse, stunning woman, causing them to backtrack on a lot of crap, including a scene involving Numi and a used tampon, as well as a scene of her moaning about not being a mum or something.
It's called capitalism.
Dum 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 dum. Oh, for fuck's sake.
It was that kind of backtracking that resulted in wasting a shitload more money on reshoots that only added to an already over-budgeted budget that was already bled dry by the sloppy over-marketing involved trying to force Lashana Lynch's Naomi as the replacement to Bond, as well as the delays due to the scandemic. Fuck-ups like this, including the shitty writing, is what caused this to bomb. It was bloated and inconsistent. The opening starts off with a 10-minute flashback, and to be honest, if it had been utilised in a scene where Safin reunites with Madeline and cut back and forth to her reaction to when he reveals he's the one that killed her mother, it would have allowed more of a pace to the structure. Not only that, Naomi could have worked as a character, and this is something I might touch on in a separate video because I want to get through this in order to do more important shit. But I will give the character some credit. She didn't cook Bond, and hell, Bond puts her in her place a couple of times, which did make me laugh.
You can go in.
Thank you.
Alone, I'm afraid.
Oh, does that bother you?
But after re-watching, I still couldn't help but shake the feeling that maybe she should have been written entirely outside of the movie and have her scenes tailored to suit Paloma, like have her return later in the movie in order to help Bond while seeking revenge against the guy who killed Felix. And yeah, Felix gets killed. I don't know why, but apparently they decide to kill Felix, and Blofeld shows up only to get killed, and so does Bond. Yeah, fucking Bond gets killed at the end, but I'll touch on that later. The film also really tries way too hard to make Miss Swan the ultimate love for Bond, and while Seydoux acting is better here, even having her kick ass a little, her and Craig still don't have that chemistry he and Evergreen had in Casino Royale, and the way he opens up to her in one scene just came across too soap-opera-ish.
But I'm not going to leave here without you knowing that I have loved you, and I will love you, and I do not regret a single moment of my life that led me to you.
Alright, gay.
Yeah, he's evolved since Casino Royale, but I still felt Lazenby did the whole Bond opening up so much better and to the point. And while we're on the subject, the film also keeps trying to reference On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which I felt was trying to manipulate some emotion out of me through that movie, yet all it did was make me want to watch that film instead.
Can you go faster?
We don't need to go faster. We have all the time in the world.
On Bond as a kid, that's his but not his but then is his. I'm sorry, I was all for it in the original You Only Live Twice novel, but movie Bond always works when the fleshing out was used to a minimum. The franchise became what it was by slightly veering off the original novels, because what works in the books don't always translate well to screen. But going back to the original You Only Live Twice novel, this movie is more accurate to the plot of that novel than the actual adaptation, The Garden of Death, Bond's death. Bond's daughter, but the trouble is it worked there more than here, because in the novel, Bond's wife was killed by Blofeld. Bond was willing to die to take revenge against his most hateful enemy. There was a genuine motive that felt more emotionally impactful due to their history. But sadly here the villain is a fucking nothing, and it's a shame as Rami Malek is acting his ass off. He has the sinister voice to pull off the more menacing monologues. He even looks sinister, but his motives don't make sense. He wanted revenge against Blofeld, and he got it. But then out of nowhere he gets a god complex and suddenly wants revenge against Madeline despite the fact he saved her as a kid, then suddenly wants to hurt Bond for some reason, and why, and A rewrite could have made this character seem consistent. How about his father once headed Quantum and was betrayed by Blofeld and wanted to take over, and not only did he want to kill Blofeld, he wanted to continue his father's vision, and saw Heracles as the perfect weapon to use, but Bond taking down Blofeld in Spectre messed that up for him. There, consistent rewrite, okay? It's a retcon, but fuck it, at least I'm trying. Even after kidnapping Bond's daughter, he lets her go again after she bites him, what?
If you don't want my protection, then off you go.
What the hell was that?
Also, why did he inject the nanobots in Bond again after shooting him in the liver? Why did he even tell him he could kill the people he loves if he goes near them? If he hadn't told him and Bond got off the island alive and recovered unrealistically from his wounds, he could have unintentionally killed them and Safin could have had the last laugh. And yes, I know, a liver shot is fatal, but this is a guy who was shot and survived a fall. Still had shrapnel in him for weeks and didn't die from shock, sepsis, drowning or lead poisoning. You'd think a liver shot would be nothing. Also, this is a villain's lair. Is there no secret escape or shelter for Bond to hide in? No, let's just kill him off since Craig hated the part so much he wanted Bond dead, and also because we need to replace him with Noomi for the more brave and stunning spin-off. That's never going to happen. And Christ, Craig, if you hated the part so much, why didn't you just leave it at Spectre and allow someone else to take over? And back to the nanobots, this is nearly 30-year technology. Even if Bond survived, couldn't Q reprogram them for fuck's sake? Didn't Safin already reprogram them anyway at this Spectre Epstein-style party? Ah, for fuck's sake, who cares? The writers clearly didn't. It was bad enough when Dying Over Day almost buried the franchise, but the fact that the offspring of the very people that launched this franchise thought it was a good idea to kill off the character that made their fortune in the most stupidest way really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm all for Bond dying, but it has to be done right. But honestly, nothing in this film makes sense. The villain's motives don't make sense. The writing is all over the place, and it lacks any sense of fun or romanticism, with the exception of a couple of scenes. Every moment in this movie feels like a spiteful way to pander to the people trying to rid us of Bond because of his toxic masculinity, while also trying to make it look like they cared about their fans. Christ, as much as I hated Spectre, at least it ended with him driving off to escape a violent life and live happily ever after. This was a movie that did not need to be made at all, but it was made. It was a disaster, and because of over-budgeting, it bombed harder than a fucking bullet and nanobot-ridden Bond. Talk about a fucking tragic end to one of the most biggest franchises ever, as well as one of the most beloved characters ever. Fuck this movie. And for a movie titled No Time to Die, it seemed there was plenty of time to die, giving fans the middle finger while blowing the franchise to smithereens.
There's just no time to die.
And now we're at the end of our 007 month, and it's such a shame how something that becomes so ingrained in our culture for over 60 years had to end in such a sad way, going from strength to strength so well. And after so many decades of entertaining people all over the world, it's looking like with Amazon running the show, it's not going to get any better, but fuck it. Let's not let the stupid crap outweigh the fact that we still have the other movies to go back to. And we can still choose to never indulge in the series it was reduced to. Because as retarded as this fucking movie is, we will always be thrilled and entertained by the classic movies that made us love this franchise in the first place. And that is something Phoebe Waller-Bridgeface and Carey Bond is a greatest fucking area Amazon will never take away. Bond is and always will be my hero, and these movies will always leave me shaken, never stirred. And whether you beautiful bastards are Northern English or not, thanks for watching. But before I fuck off, I hope next month leaves you feeling less depressed because, guess what?
It's Christmas!